Hi, JJ. Hey, Pika. Hey, Stacy. Hi, Rebecca. Hey, Joel. How's it been? Overslept. I slept way later than I intended to. Went to bed way later than I intended to, and then stayed in bed way later than I intended to, and whole thing. Hey, unlucky. It is not a free-to-play game. I'm actually not sure what it costs, though, because I backed it on Kickstarter years and years ago. Thanks, Rebecca. Hey, trailer. Rest? Not sure if I'd go that far. Not sure if I'd go that far, honestly, but... But thank you. Hey, Arjun. Missed what happened? What, you missed what happened in the game? Do you mean you missed what happened? Hey, Jordan. Yeah, Stacy, do you mean you missed what happened in the game, or what happened in the conversation? Guy standing on my head. I'm on the beach now! Oh, the conversation? Hey, fart. Hot, sexy Cove. I was this skinny as a kid. Like, back when I was, like, 18. I'm pretty sure I was this skinny when I was 18. Maybe even skinnier. I was scrawny when I was young. Haven't been on for a while? Yeah, I haven't really missed that much important. What beach is that? Sunset Cove. It's the beach on Sunset Cove. Hey, Comic Brook. So I'll give it a few more minutes for... see if anyone else comes in. Doing pretty well with recording my Life is Strange Let's Play. I've got, just finished recording... just finished, playing through episode 3 of Life is Strange. So I've got, like, the next month and a half recorded. Comic Brook? Hey, Habibi. Honestly, Comic Brook, it was kind of iffy if I was gonna bother, if I was gonna come on tonight. Hey, Scrapecoat. Hey, come fondue. Did we break up? Hey, Anunnaki. Thoughts on wearing all pink to Barbie? Makes sense to me. Hey, J-Dot. Desperately need an apartment. Yeah. Who doesn't? Oh, good night, Stacy. Yeah, I mean, I figure, yeah, if you're gonna go to Barbie, yeah, wear all pink. I can think of no better outfit for Barbie. Of course we did, J-Dot. Crowd of people wearing pink is going to be so cute. Yeah, probably. Like I said, I'm rooting for that movie. I won't be watching it myself. I won't be going to it myself. But I am absolutely rooting for it. The dots have aligned. Hey, color purple. The Barbie movie, Habibi. Can't decide how to do my hair for Barbie. Maybe a side ponytail. What? Because I don't care enough, frankly. Watching the Dennis the Menace movie. It's the one with Macaulay Culkin, right? Bought a new pink purse specifically to use when I see Barbie. All the worst people seem to hate Barbie, so that's a pretty glowing endorsement, frankly. Like, I feel like when the worst people in the world hate a movie, there's gotta be something to it, right? You know, like, one dude complained about it using the word patriarchy over 10 times. Oh no! Saying it's woke. Of course they're saying it's woke. Yeah, all the people who complain about movies being woke. Oh no, it's woke! It's woke! Yeah, one dude complained about it using the word patriarchy a bunch of times. Another dude said that it's full of hatred towards men. And like, I'm sorry, but the way, like, based on the trailer, Ryan Gosling, there is no way that movie hates men. It may hate certain types of men. But it clearly loves himbos. I am generally full of hatred towards men. Right? Like, I'm a guy, but I've got a lot of hatred towards men. Barbie was always a feminist. Indeed. Mamma Mia in theaters, everybody got up and danced at the end of the movie, and we all danced to the Barbie girl at the end. Hell yeah. I think Barbie has actual potential of, like, it's going to be a huge hit, but I think it also has potential to be, like, an ongoing cult film. You know? You know, like the sort of Rocky Horror treatment where people go and it's a, like, community experience. Depending on sort of the dialogue. Hey, Capri. Yeah, depending on, like, how goofy the dialogue is, like, it's got potential for people to, like, go and, like, you know, the whole audience saying the lines as they go. Go see it and give us a review. Probably not, no. I don't think I ever did an Across the Spider-Verse video, did I? I never did a review of Across the Spider-Verse. Hey, Vanna. You hate communities? Fair. Anyway. Hey, Super Chat. Anyway, let's get going. So we are almost finished with the summer of being 18. Just this one last moment left. Hopefully it's 2 hours long. Movie has representational communities. I mean, they clearly tried Anunnaki. Yeah, they've got people of color. They've got one of the Barbies is trans. Himbos. They've got Michael Cera. They clearly did genuinely try to make it an incredibly diverse cast where everybody would feel represented, where everybody would feel welcome. So, yeah. I suppose I don't know whether there's anything about like any sort of disabled representation. Like, I don't know if there's any disabled characters in it. I'd imagine there probably is at some point. Anyway, let's start. The day and the week were nearing their end, and you were welcoming it in your own way, by lying sprawled out on your bed. It was quiet in your house, getting to that time of the night where you really should be sleeping, but you didn't feel tired at all. You rolled onto your side. Outside, the last lit-up window across the street blinked out, leaving the buildings on the block faceless silhouettes against a blue-black sky dotted by stars. Man, I miss being able to see stars, honestly. Your phone came to life on the nightstand, a pale light cast on the ceiling of your room. Without looking, you threw your arm out behind yourself, groping around on the tabletop until your phone was under your palm. At that point, you lifted it to your face, snorting once you saw the familiar name attached to a short message just reading, "Hey." Cove wasn't much for sleeping now either. As you made to reply, though, more and more texts came through in quick succession. "Hey, Killface!" Just in time. Just in time, Killface. I'm just getting started with the game. Cove is texting us late at night. "Hey, you like doing things. You like doing things with me. I mean, what I'm saying is that there are things you and I do and we like. Together, at the same time." Now that was eyebrow-raising. You propped yourself up on one elbow, sitting upright against the headboard so you could text more comfortably. "That boy is a poet." "Yeah? Wow, you've got it all figured out. Dang, you suck at texting. Man, am I excited to see where this is going." You're right about that. "84 years since I've been on a date, I know." Man, am I excited to see where this is going. Very, very gentle teasing. Very gentle teasing. The typing indicator dropped off, and a notable pause followed. You snickered into the palm of your hand. It wasn't hard to imagine Cove red-faced and hunched over his phone in the dark, eyebrows furrowed as he tried to think of how to respond to your comment. Brooke is a dime piece on a museum pedestal. But ultimately, he didn't even attempt to address it. For what I was saying, you're free for a while, right? I've got nothing big planned for the next few days. Cool, I thought so. I was just making sure. Alright. You could almost hear Cove's intake of breath as he prepared for the next part, despite the conversation being text alone. The window of your messaging app might as well have been a screenshot. You were left to keep track of the passing seconds with the rising and falling cries of crickets outside. Play your cards right. Comic J. might give you a reason to clean the apartment. Sushi is a good... I don't like sushi, but you do you, I guess. When your screen darkened from inactivity, you wondered if you should do something yourself. Nah, you thought he'd get around to it when he was ready. You dropped your phone against your chest and closed your eyes. You wouldn't be able to see him, but it would be hard to miss the telltale sign of an incoming message. Even if it took a while, you were willing to wait. And soon enough, a reply came. What if we did something new or sort of unexpected? Would you be okay with that? Something we haven't ever done together? Uncooked ground beef. Hamburger? I like hamburger. You lowered your phone, leaning back against the headboard as you thought it over. The streets outside your window looked different at night, but you knew that if you were to wander out, there would be no chance of you losing your way. There wasn't a single inch of your neighborhood that you didn't know by heart. And everywhere you looked, from the grassy hill behind your house to the shops by the beach, you could recall a time you'd been there with Cove, mostly just chatting as you walked together. Love chat room time? Indeed. You didn't mind everyday things like that, but as for something new or unexpected... What do you think? I'd love that, or what's gotten into Cove Holden to want to do something brand new? White people chat room time. Kinda. I don't like jalapenos. Like we're all on a date with each other. And I, for one, know that my date will end in at least a handy. What's gotten into Cove Holden to want to do something brand new? Hey, I'm not predictable. Am I? You are. Oh. Well, not right now. One by one, Cove began presenting his ideas, starting off with attending a play. We've watched TV together and movies, but real people performing in front of us. We've never done that. I'm not sure what plays exactly are on right now, but that adds to the unexpected flavor. There was a slight pause before Cove moved on to the next plan. Visiting an aquarium. The Chase game show? That makes sense, right? We go to the beach and stuff. We're pretty close to the water. But going to the aquarium would be water in a whole new way. The third and last idea was the one that was most out of the blue. Ice skating! Ice skating? It was a total wild card, as Cove was putting it, and the polar opposite of what the two of you normally did. However, it was fitting right in with the other options as something you had never done together. Let's say if hypothetically someone wanted to surprise you with an unexpected outing, would that be okay? You couldn't help but smile fondly at that, wondering to yourself who that someone could be. You said it would be perfect if that somehow happened. If only a hypothetical someone existed. Great. Not that it means anything, but which one would be your favorite? It'd be... What are we thinking? Play, aquarium, ice skating. That's not a movie, J-Dot. That's a TV show. Alright, so that's one vote for aquarium. Personally, I'm leaning towards ice skating, but that might just be the Canadian in me. Not that I even enjoy ice skating myself. I haven't been ice skating since I was like 10. Too painful that she's not here. So it's not even that I like ice skating, it's just the Canadian in me is like, no, you gotta go with ice skating. If you're gonna do something weird, cute and unexpected for a date, why not ice skating? So, So yeah, which is the cutest idea for 18-year-olds in Southern California? That's the question. Which of these is the cutest idea for a couple of 18-year-olds in Southern California? Where? Like, for the aquarium, it's like, I don't know, that just seems, it's a cute date idea, but I mean, they live on a beach. But I guess that is, Thursday? It is Thursday. Yeah, so that's 2 for aquarium. Anyone else wanna? Seems cute. I mean, it is. Aquarium. Hey, Sirkin. Fine, we'll do the aquarium. It'd be the aquarium. You'd heard that in recent years, the aquarium had been making efforts towards conservation programs. It seemed like a perfect, obvious fit for Cove. Aquafaba? No. Sorry, Killface. People had already chosen. People went with the aquarium. Last brain cell is working overtime, so it's hard to answer questions. Fair. Alright, cool. Don't think too hard about this talk. It doesn't mean anything. Aw, you're leaving, Killface? Is it because I didn't choose? Is it because I didn't choose the ice skating, Killface? Are you leaving because I didn't choose the ice skating? But, alright. Good night if you have to go. I promise not to try figuring it out. Good. There's nothing to figure out, of course. Good night, Jamie. It's really late now. Yeah, it is. Night, Cove. And with that final send-off, you put your phone to sleep and lowered it with a sigh. You had no idea when Cove was going to invite you to the aquarium, but your mind was buzzing with all the possibilities the coming days might bring. Your phone went back to its place on the nightstand, and you resumed snuggling into the mattress, one hand thrown to the side and the other shoved under your pillow. Somewhere between this day and the next, you finally found yourself asleep. The next morning, after washing up from breakfast, you had just climbed the stairs to your room, ready to tackle the day, when you heard the ringing at the doorbell. You turned towards the sound, angling your head in confusion. Was someone expecting a visitor today? Then again, you weren't even sure if anyone else was around, judging by the lack of footsteps you were hearing. You raced back downstairs to answer the door. As you pulled it open and saw who it was, you were only further confused. Cove? He was standing there with an unsure look on his face at first, like he didn't know who would answer the door, but the moment he saw it was you, a shy grin spread across his face. Hi, Tay. He raised one hand and gave you a little wave. Surprise! What might you be here for this fine day? You lean against the doorframe and cross your arms with a put-upon casualness. I got you something. He slid his hand out from behind his back, holding up it in front of his face as he offered the present to you. Your eyes widened once you saw what it was. An orchid. Oh! You hadn't expected a gift at all, let alone something as thoughtful as this. He took a step towards you, so close you could see the sunlight shining through some flyaway strands of hair on top of his head. There was a quiet little tremor in his voice when he spoke again. Surprise again. Do you like it? Yes, it's my favorite. You remember. He nodded in reply, smiling at you affectionately. Of course I do. Then, growing flustered by his own words, Cove averted his eyes with a nervous glance downwards. His gaze landing on the flower, Cove laughed to himself, a thought suddenly coming to him. My dad would be proud of me for doing this all on my own, huh? You chuckled, imagining the stumbling display of fatherly pride Mr. Holden would subject his son to. Suddenly, Cove raised his head, his eyes finding yours and startling you into stillness. Cove's question came softly, his voice lingering on some words as his shyness got the better of him.
Jamie.
Would you go on a date with me today? I was thinking maybe we could go to the aquarium. He inclined his head at you with a crooked smile. I had a feeling that might be a nice place to invite you to. I'd love to. Cove huffed a sigh of relief, his lips spreading in a wide, cheery smile. All right, we're gonna do it. With his big question asked and accepted, Cove raised the gift towards you again, gesturing with his other hand for you to receive it officially. You carefully took it from him. I'll put this somewhere safe and then we can go. Cove had no problem with that. Still grinning, he stepped back, his body angling away as he waved a hand in the air. I'll get my car ready then. Meet me there. Okay. As soon as the door clicked shut, you dashed upstairs to your room, prepping a spot first for Cove's gift. Then, satisfied with your efforts, you grabbed your bag, tossing in whatever else you thought you'd need for the outing, before heading back outside. Cove's old car was parked right in front of the house. You went straight to it, hopping into the shotgun seat. As you buckled yourself in, Cove leaned forward to watch you with an eager expression, his fingers tapping the dashboard to a lively sort of rhythm. He was ready to start, but trying to tone it down so you wouldn't feel rushed. I'm glad we're doing this together. Me too. Once your seatbelt was secured, Cove checked his mirrors to make sure the street was clear before pulling away from the curb. And like that, the two of you began your trip. You settled in fully for the trip out to the aquarium in the city. It would be a bit of a drive, but you didn't mind. You made an attempt to start a conversation. It's kind of funny we've never done this before now. Why haven't we? Probably because I've never thought about going to the aquarium with anyone before this. Wait, seriously? You have never gone to the aquarium ever? Yep, that's right. Never. And not just this specific one either. I haven't been to an aquarium, period. Wow. I gotta blow my nose. Give me a second. They tasted really good. Which game made the greatest emotional impact on me? Super Mario Brothers 3. I'm joking. I don't know. Possibly Earthbound. I was gonna say what? Hey, honey buddy. I'm joking. When you finally get reunited with Princess Peach at the end, oh, amazing moment. How could you not cry at that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Life is Strange gets tears out of me. Goofy movie. I never watched the Goofy movie. I watched Goof Troop when it first came out. Like when Goof Troop first debuted, I was watching it, but I'd stopped watching it long before the movie came out. This might be brand new for Cove, but you'd been to this aquarium before. You had more experience with aquariums than Cove Holden. That simply sounded wrong. Can I ask why not? I figured you'd have begged to go. Cove tapped the tips of his fingers against the steering wheel, his face scrunching in contemplation. When I was growing up, my dad did try to take me. I'd never been before because I was so little. I said no. Whenever he tried to talk about it, I'd tell my dad I'd rather go to the actual beach, on my own. Or he could at least take me to the fish part of the pet store, but not the aquarium. Eventually, he didn't ask about it anymore. He must have figured I had something against it. When he stopped mentioning the aquarium, I stopped thinking about it. It just never came back to my mind. His expression shifted to one of bemused confusion. The thing is, I don't know what I had against it, if I did have a problem. Maybe I didn't like the idea of seeing water I wasn't allowed to go in, or to meet fish I could never bring home. That sounds like the kind of thing little me might have gotten upset over. Or maybe I just wasn't okay with doing a new kind of trip. It'd be to someplace new, and with only my dad, Mom wouldn't be there anymore.
I guess
that might have made it seem not worth doing it right off the bat. That's 8-year-old me for you. Cove shook his head with a pained smile. Then his tone dropped to a distant whisper. It's only when thinking about stuff I could do with you that I finally remembered I could go to an aquarium. Oh. He pulled his mouth into a bent smile and straightened his shoulders. He didn't want to bring the mood down. It all worked out in the end, because I got to really surprise you with the news, huh? Yeah, you totally got me there. It was a long game if I've ever seen one. The conversation continued on with idle chatter about what you'd do when you got there. Then the large, angular building decorated with ocean-themed cutouts came into view. You'd arrived at your destination. You hopped out of the car and headed over to the imposingly large guest entranceway. Hey, private dancer. Cove's head swiveled around to let his curious eyes take in every view, and you weren't even inside yet. You could see the realization of what he'd been missing out on dawn on him in real time. Cove bounced on the balls of his feet as the two of you stood in line to get tickets. His excitement continued to build. When you finally were face to face with the tanks, you could hear Cove quietly gasp from your side. I'm just realizing, isn't aquarium date like some sort of like anime cliche? Or manga cliche? Am I wrong about that? Is our aquarium dates like... I think I read something somewhere about... I think there was a webcomic I was reading that treated, that mentioned that aquarium dates are like a thing in manga and anime. Anyway, when you finally were face to face with the tanks, you could hear Cove quietly gasp from your side. He briskly took some large strides to get further into the room, and to get closer to the glass barrier. There, he stood still. After taking a moment for himself, he whipped around to look at you. Cove was outright vibrating with excitement. His mouth opened in a large smile, but all that came out was tiny squeaking giggles. It bubbled over into full-on giddy laughter before he was able to speak in earnest. Each word was full of joy. It's amazing! I love it here! I'm really glad. He cheered back without hesitation. Yeah, the aquarium is great! The two of you wasted no time before rushing around the place. You went every which way across the aquarium. Cove was enthralled by each new sight. His eyes alight like a kid in a candy store, and a perpetual smile made its home on his face. No metaphorical stone was left unturned. He viewed all the tanks from his tallest of heights, on tippy toes, as well as crouching as low to the floor as he could manage. Your exuberance was just as bright as his, buoyed further by how happy you were that he had found such happiness. You beamed. After making an entire trip through the whole building, you and Cove finally slowed the pace down. You had arrived back at the original viewing room. It was a good spot for a break. Cove stood quietly near the tank in almost the same spot as he had when he first took in the view. Somehow that moment already felt like a long time ago. Do you think women should be included in the sequel Work? Sure. The sequel to what? What's... Hey, Cheesecake. Which sequel are we talking about? Do I like Hamilton? Nah. No, but I've never been there, but it does have a really bad reputation. I don't know how deserved the reputation is, but yeah, Hamilton. Even the people who live in Hamilton talk trash about that city. Women are for maligning, not including. Favorite Disney movie? Mine was probably Aladdin. Aladdin and the Lion King would have been my favorites when I was a kid. Cove stood quietly near the tank in almost the same spot as he had when he first took in the view. Somehow that moment already felt like a long time ago. You know, at one point, Pulp Fiction was technically a Disney movie. Pulp Fiction was produced by Miramax. Miramax was owned by Disney, which meant that, technically, Pulp Fiction was a Disney movie. I think Miramax is no longer owned by Disney, so Pulp Fiction is no longer a Disney movie, but it used to be. You weren't sure if he was feeling the same way. Cove simply watched the watery world inside with open fondness. He wouldn't get tired of that view ever. You were certain of that. You walked up to stand by him, taking in the same otherworldly experience of having a sea right in front of you. Gearing up for your whole role in Pulp Fiction? You the Gimp? You walked up to stand by him. Oh, yeah. Suddenly, Cove swallowed hard. Your head tilted. He wasn't looking at you. His eyes were glued to the vast ocean view in front of him. But his bright red face reflected clearly in the floor-to-ceiling glass pane separating aquarium goers from the water. You couldn't understand. Nothing had happened. Then realization came. This was Cove. He was flustered because he was thinking about doing something. Cove always got that way when he was mentally building himself up. Put that wig on and did a Pulp Fiction. Sorta. I remember she did it. I was not involved in it, sadly. You nodded to yourself and elected to keep your lips zipped. You wanted to give him a chance to do whatever it was that he had cooking. So there's a lot of fish in here, huh? Yep. His mouth clamped shut after those vague, stuttered words. You could feel a tension growing. After a breathless pause, he spoke again. Oh gods, was he psyching himself up for a terrible pun? You know, if you were a fish, you'd be a paradise fish. Because being with you is like being in paradise. Throw him to the sharks! Cove pressed his forehead against the glass with his eyes wide and gazed down, as he fervently refused to even peek at what reaction you might be given. He was blushing wildly, feeling unparalleled embarrassment over the line he just dropped. Absolutely no riz. Cove, you'd be a goddamn clownfish. Cove, I would hope you... Cove, I would want you to be a fish so you could... I would want you to be a shark so you could eat me... so you could devour my ass. Are we going to do it in the jellyfish exhibit? Necklace? Anchor necklace. His necklace is an anchor. Anyway, yeah. Really just gotta laugh. It was so unbelievable, so completely out of nowhere, and so totally not what you had expected when he started talking about fish. I mean, you had plenty of fish name knowledge up your sleeve to use for this too. Well, if you were a fish, you'd be a... Don't aquariums feel like liminal spaces? I have no idea, Comic Brook. I barely understand what a liminal space is. Diamond Tetra, because you're a treasure.
Oh.
Fine, I'll go cheesy too. He continued to speak after his initial exclamation, but it was so mumbled you weren't sure what it was. Cove had completely lost control of the conversation that he started, and he did not know what to do about that. Ultimately, he settled for turning his burning face away from you even more, as well as covering a cheek with a hand for good measure, leaving him speechless, and you feeling rather pleased. After that, Cove wanted to go around the aquarium again. He hoped to let it all sink in at a more leisurely pace while you were here. Kind of like the feeling you get when you're hungover from too many McDoubles. Beauty bog. Plus, he desperately wanted more time to settle down after his latest big attempt at flirting. The two of you began your second loop down the paths. It took no time at all to become absorbed in the incredible sea life once more. As you walked, Cove stole a quick look at you after only having eyes for the fish for quite some time.
Hey.
Would it be alright to ask why you chose this place? What made it the favorite out of everything? It doesn't matter why, I'm just curious. Are we exasperating? Sometimes. Because I knew you'd love it. Nah, I like the aquarium. Oh, cool. You could tell Cove was feeling pretty pleased with himself by the way his eyebrows rose and his smile curved. One of his suggestions was something you wanted to do regardless, and he was considering that a success. There wasn't nearly enough time in a single day to satisfy Cove's desire to exist inside of the aquarium, but the day did have to end eventually. Despite obviously wanting to linger longer, Cove left the building with a skip and a step. It had been a good trip. Cove looks like he had vegan tendencies. The two of you shut the doors of Cove's car behind you as you took your usual seats. The clicking of seatbelts punctuated the end of the adventure. Deficient in B12 and Riz. I would absolutely do that again. No kidding? Cove chuckled as he pulled the car out of the parking spot, spirits still as high as ever. What do you get if you get stung by a group of stingrays? Dead. You get dead. A ways into the drive, Cove glanced towards your direction. You stretched your arms as he shifted in the seat, waiting patiently for him to say what was on his mind.
So...
I know this is unexpected, but thanks for coming along. Rabies. Thank you for going to the trouble to plan this. You're welcome. It was no trouble at all. He spoke with a quiet confidence. He felt good about your reaction. The drive continued in comfortable silence. Cove wore a content expression on his face that warmed your heart. Doing things like this with Cove, he made you happy. Your heart skipped a beat thinking about how mutual the feeling seemed to be. Watching the passing scenery out the window, you relaxed into the seat. The time sped by. It wasn't too long before Cove pulled into his driveway. Sighing happily, you got out of the car while Cove came around to where you were standing. He stood there a moment, rolling a pebble under his shoe. I'll see you tomorrow? Definitely.
Thanks.
After that, you and Cove parted ways for the rest of the day. Even when you fell back into your normal routine, your mind refused to stop buzzing with the memory of your little adventure. As you crawled into bed and closed your eyes, you were back in the best parts of today. You hoped Cove's surprise would continue, just a bit longer, and continue in your dreams. After breakfast the next morning, you were sitting with your moms and Liz. While you were mildly listening to the conversation, the side of your face squished into the palm of your hand, the doorbell rang.
Oh?
Oh, I'll get it. Mom passed by you to the front door. Your eyes lazily followed her, then you turned your attention to Ma and Liz. They were still lightheartedly chatting. You weren't sure about what. Your focus snapped back when your name was called from across the room. Hey, Jamie, you have a guest. You're right there. On your way to the front door, Mom gave your shoulder a pat as she returned to the living room. When she moved by, you saw who was at the door. It was Cove, again. A smile stretched out across his face the moment your eyes met.
Hi.
Hi, Cove, sweetie. Instantly, you looked over your shoulder to see Ma several feet away, but within eyeshot at the door. She waved. The hell is this face? What is this expression supposed to be? He looks terrified but trying to look happy? When you faced Cove again, he was looking at the ground shyly. It reminded you of the last time you had seen him the night before. That was all the push you needed to step outside, closing the door behind you for some privacy. Hi. Hi. Then Cove chuckled awkwardly. He didn't quite meet your eye as he pulled out another gift from behind his back. Surprise? Want to go ice skating with me? Oh, hey, we get to do that too. What? You blinked and then switched to staring at him in bewilderment. Cove's eyes narrowed conspiratorially. The real surprise is that I'm going to invite you to all three places. You never had to choose only one. I just needed to make sure that they didn't sound completely terrible. The longer Cove spoke, the quieter his voice became. Aww! All 3 dates! We get to go on all 3 dates. That's cute. He shyly scratched the side of his cheek. And to check if he'd be free. So, surprise, again. You're so sweet! Thanks. His face grew red with a blush. Shyly, Cove looked away from you. Oh, do you like what I got you? Cove nudged the present in his hands towards you, hoping that you'd take it. Until now, you hadn't completely registered it. It was a carefully chosen telescope lens. Julia. Julia is a human name. It's not a cat name. Cats should have cute names. That said, I doubt she calls the cat Julia still. Julia has 2 brain cells and I love her. Does she have a nickname yet? They're doing okay? Good to hear. Yeah, does Julia have a nickname yet? What does she actually call the cat? You know, Julia might be the name, but what does she actually call the cat right now? Oh, she still uses Julia? Julia Gulia. Alright. She does love The Wedding Singer. That is one of her favorite movies. So, that's not a surprise, I guess. Julia or idiot. Fair. Julia. Julia. So it becomes kind of a different word. Alright. Fair enough. I do like it. Thank you. I love it. You're so thoughtful. Cove's mouth pulled into a beaming smile that reached his eyes. Chuckling, you took the gift. Trained Julia to run to Burger King and back to save Uber Eats delivery fee. I'm really glad you like it. Are you gonna accept the other part too? Yeah, let's go ice skating. It'll be fun. Cove bounced a bit on the toes of his feet as he leaned over to kiss you. It was light, but you could feel his smile pressing into you, and every bit of happiness radiating off of him. Thanks for coming. I'll be in the car. You can go get ready. Alright. You sped back inside and spotted your family still sitting around the table. They all turned and smiled at you. So, what's the plan for today? I'm going to the ice rink with Cove. That sounds so fun. Ma's smile beamed. Your gaze slid over to Liz, and she also looked happy for you.
Have fun.
I hope you have a great time.
It didn't take you long to get ready and dash out the front door. She did bite the chicken royale, which was a paw performance. Cove was waiting for you as promised, and you both set out for day 2 of his surprise outings. And this time it actually was a surprise. Now that you were sitting down for the drive, it felt like a good moment to regain your bearings. You shrugged your pack into your lap and began thumbing through your things to make sure that in your hurry to leave, you hadn't forgotten anything important. You were dressed normally, but packed some extra layers just in case. Hey, Farrell! Stole a whole bun. With the jacket stuffed in there, your bag had taken on a lopsided sort of bulk, awkward to carry around. You zipped it closed again, and Cove began to speak, raising his voice to be heard over the ambient noise of the car ride.
So...
Ice skating? This is gonna be crazy. Having fun with water that's frozen? Unheard of. I mean, Southern California has a hockey team. He chuckled at his own joke, and you shook your head at him, though you couldn't help grinning at a silly comment. Who knows? Maybe in colder places it's the opposite that's weird? As you looked at him, you got a glimpse of the back seat. It was empty, which wouldn't be strange any other day. You didn't bring a jacket? Nope. You know I hate extra layers, and there aren't any parents around to force me to do it now. This feels flirty. Hey, kitty charm. You're probably going to regret that once we get there. Cove's eyebrows knitted together as he began to pout. I'll be fine. He stayed firmly in his seat, showing no sign that he was going to change his mind. Skeptical as you were, you said nothing more on it. You laid your arm against the window, the scenery outside passing by in a blur, until finally you arrived at the ice skating rink. The two of you grabbed your things and got out of the car. A wave of heat so thick it felt like you were swimming in it hit you as soon as you set foot onto the sun-hot asphalt of the parking lot. Cove fell in step next to you, dragging the back of his arm across his face. You and Cove exchanged looks. Well, here we are, his tilted smile seemed to say. The skating rink was a large building of glass and concrete, with its name plastered in simple, white letters above its entrance. The nondescript, flat rooftop-style architecture reminded you a bit of the local mall. You went in. As the door slid shut behind you, you heard Cove's sharp intake of breath. You glanced over at him, seeing the stunned look on his face, his lips drawn tight in a frown. It's really cold in here. I guess you'll have to change your name from Cove to Cold. Cold Holden? Colden for short. That way, next time we come here... Cove had his arms wrapped around himself in an attempt to keep warm, all forgotten in favor of throwing you a questioning look. You can say, it's cold in here. Throw me to the sharks! To the sharks! You covered your mouth and snickered at your humor. The joke got a trembling smile out of him, too. How about you? How are you feeling? It's not too bad. There was no denying that the building was chilly, but once you relaxed, it was bearable. He laughed breathily. That's good. Your neighbor shuddered dramatically, almost retracting his head into his shirt in his renewed effort to keep warm. You held on to him to keep him warm. You took a step towards him and wrapped him up in what you hoped would eventually become a warm embrace. For a second, his body went even more rigid, but he quickly relaxed and gave you a self-conscious smile.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. I'm happy to. His shy chuckle shook through his abdomen. You felt it on the side of your body right before he put his arm around your waist and pressed you closer, an unspoken sign that he had no problem with it. Like this, the two of you ambled over to the rental counter together, a slightly awkward process that had you unsure if you were going forward or sideways. The clerk ended up giving you two funny looks over the top of her glasses as you went through the process of paying for admission and finding skates in your shoe sizes. But throughout it all, Cove didn't shiver once. Is Cove gay? Cove is gay for the main character. So the main character, the player character, who we play as, can be boy, girl, or non-binary. I did choose non-binary, so my character is non-binary. But you can be boy, girl, or non-binary. Regardless of which gender your character is, Cove, you can develop a romantic relationship with Cove. I pay attention, I swear. Eventually, you had your skates. It was a particularly well-worn set. Still sturdy, but where it had once been blue, it was now faded, and where it had once been white, it was now closer to tan. With some time and a low bench, you were both set up with your rented shoes and now stood by the opening to the rink. It was an oblong shape, surrounded by a paneled wall with rails. You were a little amused to see that there were others dressed in t-shirts and shorts, and you turned to Cove to point it out. The answering laugh that came sounded a little distracted. Those people are Canadian! Those are Canadians who moved to California to work in the entertainment industry. Or like people from like the Northeast or North, like those are people who are like those are the people who like if it's 0 degrees, that's like, oh yeah, that's 0 degrees. Yeah, I suppose I should put on a warmer shirt. Yeah, 0 degrees. Yeah, maybe I should wear a light jacket.
Well,
here we go. The only relationship I need is with God. Because God puts out. I assume God is just amazing in bed. Tentatively, he took one step out onto the ice. The series of moments that followed were reminiscent of a jack-in-the-box swinging back and forth on its spring. You thought you might laugh, but it died in your throat when, for one heart-lurching second, Cove's upper body tipped forward at a 90-degree angle. His hand shot out, slapping against the ledge running along the plexiglass panels on the side of the rink. A relieved sigh left both him and you. He was mumbling to himself as he craned his head back. He must have caught the alarm on your face because he gave you a smile as shaky as his footing. I'll make it work! Easier way to say I'm single. Fair. Interpretive dance to Fetty Wap? No. You'd never been ice skating before now either. That makes sense. You came forward to join him, and... You were a little shaky, but you managed to catch yourself. On wobbly legs, you somehow made your way over to Cove. He looked at you with an understanding smile. We'll both work on it? Yeah. It's kind of amazing we're seriously ice skating right now. But this is what we decided to do. I should stop being surprised over everything. Let's skate. Right. Let's do it! The two of you developed a cautious rhythm, drawing long, slow circles around the edge of the rink side by side. Neither of you were experts. In fact, it was hard to tell who was worse. There were no complaints from either party when the pace was kept slow, or even stopped entirely whenever one of you needed to grab onto the edge again. Despite how ungraceful of a pair you were, it was fun. White puffs of air released from you and Cove as you laughed and cheered each other on for the smallest achievement. There were also still plenty of moments spent clinging to each other for added warmth against the unrelenting chill of the space. The hours slid right past you, and just like that, it was suddenly time to call it a day. After returning the borrowed skates, Cove and you ventured back out into the California air. Even though the sun was almost behind the horizon, it was still palpably warmer than inside the rink. You were on ice? Trey had a Dougie? I don't know how to Dougie! I don't even know what the... I've never even heard... I've heard of the Dougie. I have no idea what the Dougie is. I have no idea how that dance works. Cove rushed over to his car, his shivering hand clutched to yours. You let him pull you forward in his mad dash to the vehicle. Doors were open and closed, seats were taken, the engine switched on, and heat turned to max. At that, Cove finally relaxed. Your foray into the freezing cold had ended, and nicely at that. The car ride home went by far too fast. You and Cove were in good spirits, and spent the ride chatting and laughing, bouncing around various topics. But you didn't ask the question that sat all day in the back of your mind. Why was Cove doing all of this in the first place? Again, you both parted ways for the night in the neighborhood street. You watched Cove head inside with a quick wave. You were halfway to your own house when a familiar voice called out to you. Turning on your heels, you spotted Mr. Holden. He lightly jogged over to talk.
Hey!
How are you? I'm good. Great, I was just getting home from work. What are you up to? Or rather, what were you up to today? Me and Cove went ice skating. You did, huh? Sounds fun. It was fun, and it was also a surprise. Which is weird, since usually me and Cove not hanging out would be what sounds surprising. Crossing your arms, you gave a quick laugh. Mr. Holden frowned. He rubbed the back of his neck and studied you for several silent moments. Right, so... Jamie, what's going on there? Something is going on, isn't it? Huh? Wait, what makes you ask? There's not a problem, right?
So...
I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Deal? You rolled a pebble under your shoe. Mr. Holden was probably the only person who could give you any solid insight into what Cove was doing. Alright, deal. What's the story? The truth is, Cove's been doing a lot for me lately. Way more than usual. For 2 days in a row now, he's planned special dates and gifts, too. I don't know why. Cove's father nodded contemplatively. He accepted the situation easily. That actually makes a lot of sense, considering... Hey, is this something secret you shouldn't be sharing? Feeling some tenseness, your teeth sank into your bottom lip. On the other hand, Mr. Holden chuckled. If it's supposed to be a secret, Cove's been awful at hiding it. He's doing it out in the open, so I don't think that's what he cares about. Your head tilted just a bit to the side as you watched Mr. Holden. You were honestly curious what his side to this was. As long as it was alright to hear, you wanted to know. There was a pause. He was unsure of what to say next, or how to phrase it at least. Honestly, I've been the littlest bit worried about Cove lately. He's gotten really up in his head about something. But it's not exactly a bad thing. It's tough to know how to even bring it up. I'm not sure if I should try to have a talk about it. The longer he spoke, the wider your eyes grew with concern. There was more happening than a few meaningless hangouts. It's okay. He raised his hands in a calming motion when he noticed your reaction. Let me explain. I noticed Cove's been getting lost in thought more often recently, and he sometimes has his laptop out in the living room. He leaves it laying around on the couch or puts it on the coffee table. I have a clear view of it from there, and I can obviously see him looking stuff up on it. Cove keeps searching one phrase, and different wordings of it too. Then he'll spend ages clicking through the linked results. The line is, how do you make someone happy? Just that, again and again. You had to consciously close your mouth after that. You didn't know what to even say after hearing that revelation. Mr. Holden gently beamed. What a dork. Cove is being dorky. Isn't he such a good kid? He continued, but his tone was rueful. Unfortunately, I can relate all too well to that conundrum. Who am I to judge, right? Mr. Holden shrugged in an exaggerated way to lighten the mood back up. Before, I was thinking Cove might have gotten into a fight with somebody. Now it sounds like I was way off the mark. Cove clearly has other plans on the brain. I'm even more confused on whether this is something I should get into or not. You know, actually, I was wondering if you could have a little chat with him about what's going on. It sounds like you're at the core of Cove's son's study sessions, so he might feel more at ease talking about it. Or more embarrassed, but he'd still probably do it. I would really appreciate it. It's a busy shirt. Kinda. It is, rather. Stars and waves. Yeah, so it's just stars and waves. There's the fact that there's waves up here that just make it look weird. I look like Mr. Holden on my best days. He's a good-looking dude. He is a handsome fella. Your gaze trailed over to the Holden residence. Mr. Holden made a very good point, you had to admit. I'll do it.
Good kid.
Thanks. You're also a really good kid. You shook your head with a smile and started walking towards where Cove went. After a few steps, you realized that Mr. Holden wasn't following. You glanced back at him. I'm gonna hang out here for a bit. Make sure you have some space to talk without a parent in the way. The door's probably unlocked, so go right in. Okay. But you hesitated for a moment. Mr. Holden's smile faded. Thanks for talking with me. This has been on my mind too, and I think it'll be good to ask Cove if everything's okay.
Absolutely.
Agreed. It'll all shake out right in the end, I'm sure. Peep that fever tattoo. Mr. Holden grew much happier than he was a moment ago. Feeling ready, you turned right around and went into the house. Cove was sitting on the couch with his aforementioned laptop open. He peeked at you with a puzzled look, and then it melted into a smile. I thought you were my dad. Did you forget something? No.
Oh.
Silently, you stared at each other. You were struggling to put together what you wanted to say next, and the conversation was growing more awkward by the moment. Okay? You watched Cove's bafflement increase and sighed. Why are you here? Cautiously, you asked Cove about his searching. Don't panic, but can we talk about something? Cove's eyes widened, fighting the urge to immediately panic at your seriousness. But he nodded. You tried to smile reassuringly. You could tell he wasn't convinced at first. It's not a problem, I swear. Okay. Cove closed his laptop and laid it on the couch cushion next to him. He got up, shuffled past the coffee table, and stopped right in front of you. He spoke in a hushed tone, only hearable because of the new closeness. Are you all right? Yeah, I was wondering, well, if everything was all right with you. You've been making these big plans out of nowhere, and your dad mentioned that you've been kind of distracted lately. I want to know, why have you been looking into how to make someone happy? He noticed that? Are you mad? No, I guess I really was distracted. I didn't think people around would actually be paying attention or taking note of things. He chuckled awkwardly at himself. Cove, will you tell me why you felt like doing that so much?
Jamie.
Cove looked at you with large, earnest eyes. I did it because I want you to be happy. That's seriously it? You're killing me, Cove Holden! Trying to decide between you already make me happy, trying to decide between I want you to be happy, you already make me happy, and you're killing me.
Sorry. Sorry.
Because these are all nice options. I want you to be happy, you already make me happy, and you're killing me are all good options. Like, these two are sweet, and then this one, like, that's it? I'll go with this one. You already make me happy. The words flew out of you without a second thought. Cove's face instantly started to turn red, and his mouth twitched. Thank you. Another laugh squeaked out of him. Now he was completely frazzled on what to say. His gaze fell to the floor, and he defaulted to rubbing at his arm.
Sorry?
I wasn't trying to make you or Dad concerned. I didn't want to upset anyone. Sorry. Don't worry, no one's upset. Cove took a deep breath. You could see his expression lighten, but he was still lost in thought. What made you start doing all of this now, of all times?
I don't know.
With a deep frown, Cove looked back at you and repeated the phrase. Each time the inflection was different. Like he had intended to say something different, but was coming up with the same non-reply. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to understand his own motivations. I guess maybe with everything that's been happening and everything that's coming soon, it's just kind of hit me that we're neighbors. A quick snort of air came out of your nose from his conclusion. Yeah? I mean, you've lived right across the street from me for 10 years. The only other kid who grew up in this whole neighborhood is your older sister. His weak smile bent. And then there's our parents. They sure were putting in the effort for the two of us to get to know each other. My dad literally paid you to be my friend. Cove shook his head with a laugh. His gaze was far away as he nostalgically reflected on the history you had. Basically, everything in our lives was set up for us to be together. It was always effortless. And why not? It practically went without saying that we'd be around each other, but it won't be like that forever. Our parents can't always be there to arrange things. We can't live in the little world of this street forever. Do I even know how to make it work when I don't have every advantage possible? I've made you happy in the past, but can I keep doing it? What even is it that I do that makes you happy? Cove started to run a hand through his hair again, but he stopped partway through. He looked at you earnestly. It was like breathing. When you're just going through life, you do what you're doing without even thinking. And then something reminds you that you're breathing, and you become way more conscious of it. Yep, and then you can't breathe right. Or like you start thinking about how you walk, and suddenly you're not walking normally. Being with you is the same. I do what I normally do without pondering deeply on it. But now all this stuff has made me start thinking about it. Then I couldn't stop thinking about it. I felt like I needed to try harder, to make an effort. For you, for the relationship we had. I had to, and, well, that's what I did. This is so cute. It is cute! Cove scratched the back of his neck. He looked sheepish now. It seemed like a good idea in my head. It made complete sense. But maybe it was dumb. Kiss him! In one swift motion, you pulled him closer and leaned in, delicately pressing a kiss onto his mouth. Cove fell into it, placing his hands on your hips. He kissed you back. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Cove shifted how he was standing and watched you bashfully. You know it's okay to tell me when you're feeling like this, right? You watched him with pleading eyes. You didn't want him to keep things like this to himself. He nodded carefully. I'm glad. I'm here for you. Cove, you're my boyfriend. Even if us meeting is thanks to circumstances out of our control, that doesn't matter. Wait a second, I gotta blow my nose again. Give me a second. We're close because of who we really are. We found something in each other that made us want to be together. Nothing can take that away. There was a pause where neither of you were certain who was going to speak next. Cove sniffled.
Wow.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for looking out for me, even when I didn't notice I was doing something worth checking in on. You're amazing. You're welcome. After your conversation with Mr. Holden, you really weren't sure what to expect. You breathed a happy sigh of relief now that things were a million times better. Cove chuckled. Now that everything was out in the open, his words were lighter. I gotta thank my dad, too. I can always count on him to be around. I have such good people in my life. He smiled softly. Cove withdrew a bit, looking shy. Can I still show up tomorrow and invite you on the last surprise outing? That'd be just fine. I'm looking forward to it. You knew that you were smiling like an idiot, but honestly, you didn't mind too much. Spending time with Cove was the easiest thing to you, and the feeling was mutual. Cove watched you with earnest eyes. He simply wanted to spend time having fun with you. I can't wait. Cove leaned down so he could kiss you. As your lips parted, you saw that his were curled in a smile. He wrapped his arms around you and tucked you in close. You're really nice. Your lips gladly met his once more. Cove smelled good, like a heady mixture of fresh citrus and sea breeze. You'd mutually ensnared each other with the kiss, unwilling to let it end, until Cove abruptly glanced around as if he was seeing the location for the first time. He ducked his head, bashfully peering at you from out of the corner of his eyes. We're kind of in the middle of the living room. He mumbled the words, his grip on you tightening. My dad might come in soon, but, my room is right over there, so maybe we could go there? If you wanted to. Oh yeah. Makeout City. Oh yeah, right. Let's go. He swallowed audibly at your answer, but he didn't take it back. All right. Cove's face was verging on crimson as he took your hand. Smiling, you gripped his hand tightly. Together, you hurried down the hall to his room. You were the one who opened the door as you both pushed through as one. Cove smoothly closed the door after him using the heel of his foot, not allowing his hand, or attention, to be diverted from you for even a moment. He took you into his arms fully, holding you close to his chest. You inhaled another waft of his invigorating fragrance as you stared into his open, eager eyes. Kiss him lightly over and over. You sprinkled Cove's mouth with short kisses, always coming back for more. Cove responded in kind each time, aching for your touch. The tease of getting only a brief connection seemed to make him crave you even more. His hands roamed up and down your back, memorizing the outline of your body. It spurred you on, the gap of time between each kiss shrinking until it was nearly as quick as the kisses themselves. Feel like I'm intruding? Yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to just start feeling... I'm wondering if this is going to start feeling weirdly awkward in a minute. You pressed your mouth against Cove's, holding it there in a longing kiss. It was only when the need for air became too much that you finally broke apart. Cove inhaled rapidly, then leaned in again. This time, he gently slid the tip of his tongue against your lower lip. Startled, you let out a tiny exclamation of surprise. Was that all right? You responded by returning the kiss with your tongue. Cove jolted beneath your touch, then quickly melted into the kiss. He responded in kind, kissing you deeper and deeper as you both sought for more of each other. Push him on the bed. Taking his shirt in your fists, one hand on his waist and the other on his chest, you pressed him over towards his bunk. We are hiding in the closet and watching the hot tub. Cove stumbled over his feet. It wasn't easy, moving backwards as someone else set the pace, but he soldiered on. Once you judged that it was close enough to the bed for a soft landing, you opened your hand against his chest and toppled him over. He didn't resist, falling back onto the bed with a gasp. You know, actually, it seems like that would be awkward for him, because he's tall. So, I worry that he would hit his head on this bit, depending on how he fell. You climbed on top of him. The mattress gave gently under the pressure. Your knees sunk slightly as you planted them on either side of Cove's body. Cove's breath hitched, a much quieter sigh slipping from his mouth, as the surprise gave way to realization of the position you were both in. He looked up into your face with nervous excitement. Yeah, there's a sexy expression right there. How could you not want to be all over this right here? Complimented him. You're beautiful. You're stupid and beautiful. Hot, sexy. You just fall and keep breaking in half awkwardly. You're perfect. Just absolutely perfect. No other word could describe him. Cove sputtered while covering his face with a hand. From between his fingers, you caught his eyes closing as you spoke, your words of praise rendering him unable to look at you directly. Getting 50 Shades? But you could also see his smile spread wider with every syllable you uttered. He squeaked with delight, unable to construct a sentence or even form a single word. You grinned at his reaction. To start slowly taking off articles of clothing and slip into the hot tub as you read. You nibbled his neck. You peppered his neck with kisses and tiny bites in equal measure. Your teeth grazed against his skin, pressing hard enough to make him shiver, then compensating with a soft kiss. Cove sighed dreamily, letting himself get lost in the moment. He instinctively pressed his body up against yours while full of yearning for you. Oh, that yearning. Grip his hair. You shifted your position on the bed and looped a hand under his head. You coiled your fingers in his hair and solidly took hold of it. Ah! In response, Cove reached out and laid a hand on the side of your face. The pad of his thumb softly circled against your cheek. Using your varying vantage points, you pulled closer together, your lips meeting in a kiss. Then you let your hand drift back down lower. Cove enveloped you in his arms completely, strapping across your torso and back in order to bring you in for a kiss. As he kissed you, the pressure from his mouth and arms increased. You could feel his legs shifting along your sides. And then he used his newfound hold on you to roll over without warning. You were abruptly laid flat on your back, the mattress beneath you, while Cove pinned you down from above. It knocked the... Hey. Nipples popping? It knocked the little breath you had left right out of you. The kiss ended, but he had yet to open his eyes. You were both frozen. It was only when he slowly let his half-lidded ocean eyes look at your face that he understood what he'd done. You got to watch comprehension dawn on his face, as he first frowned, puzzled by the change in view. It was then eased by understanding, followed by mortification, as his face flooded with color. Nothing more erotic than mortification. The most erotic word in the world. Mortification.
Oh my god.
He extracted himself abruptly, but carefully, trying to avoid pushing down on you any further as he got up, primly taking a seat on the edge of the bed. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. From the way he was studiously looking anywhere but at you, you knew at once that he was too embarrassed to go any further. Well, dang. The blush that reached all the way to the tips of his ears was merely extra confirmation. Cove had accidentally shown more proactiveness than it seemed he was ready to admit to. His embarrassment was sweet, and made it easy to feel like the more confident one in the pair again. You couldn't suppress the grin emblazoned on your face. You joined him in sitting upright. I'll see. It's at this moment his parents pop into his room. He cleared his throat, trying to regain some control over the situation. I wish you could stay, but it's getting late. You need to head home and get some rest. He looked at you, attempting to feign an innocent expression. We could always have a sleepover. Though, we wouldn't be getting much rest. Aw, yeah. Can I narrate like it's a 1930s radio program?
I mean...
What if something just happened to happen tomorrow? You had to laugh. Cove cracked a smile, acknowledging his poor attempt at subterfuge. How about I walk you back? I can manage crossing a road by myself. You stay here and get your own rest. Yeah, you cannot walk right now. You probably shouldn't be standing up right now, Cove. I get the feeling that standing up, yeah, you might not be able to stand up for a few minutes. Then let me walk you to the door, at least. All right. Anyway, 30s radio program. You silently headed back into the living room together, comfortable with each other's presence. You stopped by the front door. Good night, Jamie. His voice was soft, like a comforter you just wanted to wrap around yourself forever. But Cove was right. You had to go for today. Was it everything you want? Was it everything you hoped for, Comic Brook? How was my 1930s radio program voice? Good night, Cove. With that, you opened the door and stepped outside. When you walked out into the street, you noticed that Mr. Holden was still standing out there. He looked up at the sound of the door closing behind you, his phone in hand, and smiled as he sized out the situation.
Oh?
You were in there for a while. I hope that's good news. Well, Let's just say I was hoping you'd stay outside for another 30 minutes. Was that Orson Welles? Were you really going to stand out here in the dark until I left? He waved it off. I didn't mind giving you guys a wide berth. We had no clue how sensitive the issue was. I wasn't about to risk messing it up by poking around where I wasn't needed. Besides, I was chatting with Gregorio, Derek's dad, my very professional business partner, about very professional business things. It's fine. Okay. It all worked out, so that's good. Great. Glad to hear it. Everything truly resolved, you exchanged goodnight wishes with Mr. Holden before continuing the very brief trip home. Not wishing to disturb anyone, you quietly snuck inside and gently pushed the door closed behind you. As it clicked into place with a minimum of fuss, you let out a sigh. Your mind buzzed as you climbed the steps up to your room. Cove had done so much just to make you happy, and you knew he'd be back tomorrow with another big surprise. You resolved enough was enough. You were going to thank him with a gift and surprise him with a change of plans. Cove had brought you 2 gifts already, and the odds are a third was coming. It was time to turn the tables and have something ready to give him. At this hour, that was easier said than done. Most stores were long closed, and Cove would be here bright and early to surprise you tomorrow morning. That ruled out purchasing a gift the way he'd done for you. Luckily, you'd known Cove long enough to see a solution to this problem. Your neighbor was always a happy boy when he was given food. You were sure you could wrestle something fitting that description out of the kitchen, one way or another. Feeling invigorated, you spun around and sped back downstairs. It was time to put your plan into action. You were a decent cook. You could make something he loved. You sized up your options. With an early start, you'd be able to pull together something simple in the morning. If you wanted to go for something more elaborate and time-consuming, you'd need to do it right now. There was also the option of rallying the troops. Your moms knew how to cook wonderfully, and you could easily persuade them to give you a hand with this. What are we thinking? Do it alone or have moms help us cook something? Do it alone. It was for the best. Cinnamon rolls? What are we thinking? Sandwiches or cinnamon rolls? I'm thinking cinnamon rolls. Sweet. Something sweet for our sweet boy. A sweet food for our sweet boy. Even as a grumpy little boy who had just moved in, cinnamon, sugar, and frosting had brought a smile to his face. He was going to light up with childlike glee when he saw what you had planned. There was no time like the present. You found a suitable recipe and started pulling ingredients out, ready to be measured. Once you had everything you needed lined up and ready for attention, you began working through the steps. You made the dough quickly, knowing it would need time to rise before it would be ready to roll out and let you continue the recipe. You strapped the dough into a bowl with cling film, hoping that the yeast would do its job. You needn't have worried. An hour later, and the dough had doubled in size, just as promised. You continued with the recipe, rolling out the dough, layering it with the cinnamon sugar filling that Cove had so loved, and readied the rolls for the oven. I'm glad Cove finally found his bae. Soon the kitchen was full of sweet smells as heat joined the ingredients into one. As you waited for the timer, your mind continuously drifted back to younger days. You recalled the chatter of tourists and seagulls on the busy shopping street that had felt so vast when you were a child. Eventually, a beeping brought you back to the present. The rolls luckily came out fluffy and golden, naked without their white frosted coats. Naked! They're naked! You'd whip that up while they were baking, but you had to fight the urge to ice them right away. Until they'd cooled, any frosting you put on them would melt right away. Once you were satisfied that they'd cooled down, you topped them with a sufficiently thick layer of frosting. You dusted off your hands, satisfied with the job well done. With your mission accomplished, you headed back up to your room. You took the steps lightly, feeling buoyed as you imagined how happy Cove would be with your unexpected gift. Cove's plan was extremely thoughtful, just like him. But you couldn't let him be the only one concocting schemes. With his attention diverted on his own surprise, it was the perfect opportunity for one of your own. He'd never see it coming. That didn't mean that thinking up something was going to be easy. You wouldn't want to do anything that might risk him making him uncomfortable, or a random activity just for the sake of doing something new. It needed to be something he'd actually want to do. You thought about Cove. The obvious destination was the beach. He never got tired of the sea, no matter how many hours he spent with it. And while there were many beaches in California, and he knew he'd be happy with any of them, a trip to the shore wouldn't quite cut it this time. After all, you'd both still inevitably wind up doing the same things you always loved to do on the beach, and time would pass in much the same way as it would if you were still in your hometown. You wanted this plan to be something special. Luckily, as much as Cove associated himself with the ocean, you were one of the few people who knew that there was another, quite different, type of location that he treasured. Surprising him with a trip to somewhere else with that element was absolutely the kind of moment that he cherished forever. Pulling up a browser on your phone, you search for the phrase Sunset Bird White Poppy Field. Smiling to yourself, you settled down and began the hunt for the perfect spot. Cove was working so hard to make you happy. You dearly wanted your partner to be happy too. You could only hope your efforts would work as well for him as his plans were working for you. J. saying I'm not live? I mean, she could be right. You never know, Scapegoat. You can never tell if this is just pre-recorded and I'm just that good at guessing what my viewers will say and when they'll say it. In fact, all of you might be fake as well. This entire thing might be recorded. All the viewers are like all the comments are sort of pre-written and scheduled and all that. You know, this entire thing could be an elaborate ruse. You were up early the next day, ready and waiting for Cove's inevitable appearance. She had not apologized. Your ears were perked, listening for the doorbell, but instead, what you heard was a familiar rapping on the window pane. There was no need to look to know who that was. Only one visitor used your window as his personal entranceway. Getting up, you headed over to let him in. You gazed into your neighbor's face as you unfastened the window, opening it wide. He smiled at you, still crouched on the window ledge. Surprise? Cove's laugh was as airy as the cotton candy sold on the boardwalk. He was in good spirits. You're the real veal baby? Yeah, surprise. I'm really keeping you on your toes. What will I do next? He wiggled his eyebrows at the joke as you stepped back to let him enter the room. Today he clambered through with extra difficulty thanks to the object he was clutching securely. You guessed it was another gift. You waited for him to bring it up. Sure, he'd know that you'd seen it and had probably reached your own conclusions, but he'd worked hard on his surprises. You wanted to play along. Cove smiled sheepishly as he held out the present to you. With a bit of flair, Cove clinked together 2 mugs, like he was giving a toast. Both cups were stamped with a Sunset Bird town symbol. One for you, and one for me. I thought it'd be pretty fitting with us sticking it out here for a while longer. His eyes were trained on you, searching for your emotion on it. I hope you like it. You kissed him. In no time at all, you'd closed the distance between you and brought your lips to his. Though startled, Cove happily returned the kiss, while still holding your present carefully. Thank you. He chuckled self-consciously as he gave a long look to the meaningful gift he had selected. It was as if it was growing heavier in his hands. I really do support your goals. I just want you to know that. Yeah, I know. Then you accepted the thoughtful present into your own grasp. Only once he transferred ownership and cemented it with your approval did Cove straighten up and pull himself together.
Well...
Okay, well, would it be alright for me to take you out today? We could, I don't know, go to the theater? He smirked, already anticipating that you'd say yes. You smiled to yourself, wondering how to break your counter surprise to Cove. Surprise! Again!
Huh?
A beat passed, as if Cove was waiting for a punchline that didn't come. He tilted his head, nonplussed by your declaration. There's somewhere else I'd like to go today. Would you come with me? His mouth hung open, and the rest of what he was trying to say disappeared into thin air. The shock hadn't even started to wear off, but he found one more word. Okay. You were thrilled to have him on board. Now the two of you could focus on putting the plan into action. The first part is already here. You can have it now.
What?
What? Really? It was amazing how surprised he was. Cove had spent 3 days raining gifts and special trips on you, but he hadn't at all counted on you doing something in return. What is it? Stay here for a second and I'll show you. Okay. He watched you expectantly as you turned around to head downstairs. You reached where the cinnamon rolls were waiting and collected the prize. As you flipped back around to your room, gift in hand, there was a smile playing out across your face. Cove was patiently waiting where you'd left him, tapping his finger against the side of his pants. Surprise! He looked curiously, barely believing that you'd gone to the effort to select a present for him at such short notice. You handed the gift over for his inspection. His eyes widened as he saw the treat. I whipped this up just for you. Oh! He blinked, the present totally taking him by surprise, but his eyes were alight with glee. You made me cinnamon rolls? I love them, though I don't get them a lot. They're not the kind of thing we normally have around. He glanced up at you shyly. I can't believe you still remembered. It's amazing. You chuckled, recalling those moments long ago that you spent together. How could you not remember days with a guy like him? The sentimental air was quickly dispersed as he scooped up a cinnamon bun and gracelessly squished half of it into his mouth. Nice job ruining the mood, dude. Do you like it? I could take a guess, but it'd be nice to know for sure. Cove kept chewing, gesturing apologetically to his occupied mouth. Finally, after what felt like an age, he swallowed. It's so good. The best one I've ever had. Cove wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, now a little calmer after the initial burst of excitement. His feelings instead settled into an easy, warm affection.
It's nice.
Thank you for this. It's so nice of you. I would give anything for you, Cove. He chuckled shyly, tucking his head into his shoulder self-consciously. You don't have to give anything, though. I'm already yours. Your face got significantly hotter after that blunt statement. Even though you certainly hadn't forgotten he was your boyfriend, the way he said it left you speechless. His features softened, and you felt like you were being thoroughly appreciated. The food you gave was also getting its due attention. He had already gone in for a second serving. You couldn't blame his indulgence. That said, the amount you'd given him was enough for several servings, far more than even Cove could usually finish at once. You made sure of it. But as he continued to devour it, you were starting to suspect that polishing it all off was the goal. In spite of the generous portion, he was willing to try and eat it all in order to show you how much he liked the present. It's okay to save some for later. I don't mind. You could tell that he wanted to show how taken he was with the gift, but you'd not presented it to him as a challenge to be overcome. Cove finished his current bite and let out a satisfied sigh.
Alright.
Alright, I'll stop for now. There's other stuff to do, and I can have more later. You smiled at him, relieved that your gift could be enjoyed, and not inhaled. But once Cove had consumed as much as he could manage for the time being, you packed the rest back for later. It was time to direct him to the next part of the surprise. I'll need you to drive the way still. You can follow my directions.
Right.
He accepted easily, going along with your mystery plan without resistance. That was a relief. He was definitely curious, and you weren't going to let his hopes down. No time was wasted as you left your house immediately after establishing the new surprise plan. You hurried out into the street and practically jumped into the car, Cove tottering behind at your heels like a faithful hound. Your excitement was obviously rubbing off on him. Cove dutifully followed your guidance. You did your best to keep the destination secret for as long as possible, giving him directions only as necessary. When you finally came to a stop, it was in a parking lot out in the middle of nowhere. You confidently unclipped your seatbelt, while Cove looked around, bemused. Here we are? He looked at you for confirmation. You were happy to provide it. We're here. At that, the two of you got out of the car. Cove turned to you, evidently still baffled, but optimistic for what could be coming.
So?
What now? Cover your eyes. I'll lead you in the right direction. Whatever you say, Jamie. He obliged by your orders as you got him into place. You appreciated how easily he was playing along. Cove clutched his hands tightly against his eyes, his fingers clamped together so closely not even a speck of light could pass through. He was taking this very seriously. What are some deal breakers for me in terms of a friend? Bigotry. Bigotry's a big one. No turfs. No. Hey, Spring. Thanks, Spring. I tried to fake being, kind. He let you direct him along the way, obediently following your instructions. Eventually, you'd reach the end of the parking lot. The crunch of gravel underfoot came to an end, replaced by a dirt path. You saw a flicker of recognition on Cove's face as the terrain changed, but he didn't question where you were headed. You simply continued to make your way forward together as best as you could. The dirt made way to grass. You spotted a lonely white flower. It was the first, you were sure, of many to come. Like floral signposts, they popped up infrequently as you kept moving, determined to bring Cove to the destination you'd uncovered online. Your body was thrumming with emotion now that you were getting close to your goal. Nerves and excitement fought for control as you approached your destination. As it came into view, thrill easily won out. It was perfect. You positioned yourself behind Cove so that the full reveal would be the first thing he saw, completely unobstructed. Taking a deep breath, you prepared for the culmination of your surprise. You can look now. Not wanting to wait a moment longer, Cove dropped his hands from his face. Speeding in front of the two of you was a wide-open field, densely carpeted with white poppies in full bloom. Hundreds upon hundreds of soft petals lightly bobbed in the comfortable breeze, as if waving to welcome you both. Cove had frozen in place. His jaw was slack, hanging open in amazement, as though he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. You couldn't blame him. The dissonance between the unassuming parking lot, mundane and man-made, to the bounty of nature which you brought him to, was startling in itself. And other than the hill behind your house, you'd not encountered this flower in the wild. From Cove's perspective, to suddenly be greeted by a natural paradise, tailored to him right down to his favorite flower, must have been something he'd normally only get in a dream. Leaning against his back, you wrapped your arms around his front. You perched your chin on his shoulder. Cove blinked slowly and repeatedly as he took in the expanse of flora laid before him. Tears began to form, clutching onto his eyelashes and clumping them together. He lifted his gaping mouth into a wobbly, open-mouthed smile that teetered between joy and disbelief. Oh my God. He was too choked up to string the three simple, familiar words together. You'd left him speechless. Cove twisted in your arms to face you. Beaming, he leaned forward to kiss you. You were glad to return the kiss, pressed into him and wrapping your arms around his neck to keep him close. On a scale of 1 to 10, how high is your capacity for cringe? I don't know, it varies. It varies depending on the type of cringe, the context. Like, if I'm watching a show and I'm like really loving the show, and suddenly it has something that is incredibly cringe, but like it feels appropriate for the show, like it's cringe that still somehow fits and feels earned in a way, then yeah, absolutely I can put up with that. You know what, I'll actually give an example of that. The show Carol and Tuesday. The series ends with this big song, Mother. And the song is pretty cheesy. It has to be admitted, it's a pretty cheesy song. But it's what the whole series was building up to, and the cheese feels earned. Which means that I really like the song. Even though it is like really cheesy and sappy, it's like, you know what? You fucking earned this cheese. So, yeah, I mean, context matters. Beyond that, I mean, it's, cringe is very subjective as well. And I don't know. Sincerity often counts for a lot. Sincerity does count for a lot for that sort of thing. It's why a lot of deliberate B movies don't end up being the same cult successes as an Ed Wood's film. You know? Ed Wood was a terrible filmmaker. By all accounts, he was a terrible filmmaker. But he was sincere. So, even though his movies were objectively bad, that sincerity rang through, and some people, really appreciated that and loved that about his movies. He was genuinely trying. Toxic gossip train on top tier cringe. But then, like, when B movies became, like, really popular back in the 80s and into the 90s, B movies became really popular, and it was a thing where, like, everybody was trying to do deliberate B movies. A lot of those didn't really catch on. Cousin is getting married in September. Oh, congratulations. Congratulations to your cousin, J-Dot. Neat. I hope their relationship does well. I hope their marriage lasts. Cringe has to have a bit of... It does. If it's, you know, like... when it's tongue-in-cheek, when it's, like, deliberately going for cringe, it's not... It feels forced, and it doesn't feel... You know, it doesn't work as well. When the goal is, like, you know, this, like... Is this cringe? Yes, I don't give a shit if this is cringe. This is what I want to do. This is what I genuinely... Like, this is... You know... This is the writing, this is the type of writing that I genuinely enjoy reading. I don't care if it's cringe. This is what I want to read. And this is how I'm going to write it. You know, like books, like, you know, like, for anything. Like, this is what I like. I don't care if other people find it cringe. I enjoy it, so this is what I'm going to do. There is power in that. There is value in that. You have some options you should describe them so we can help you pick. Yeah, that'd be a fun idea, Jada. Yeah, let us know what sort of options are available for the dress. Unless it's something where the bride is picking out the dresses. Or whatever. Yeah, let us know. We can give you advice. Just standing there with eyes closed, feeling tested. Fine, I'll get back to you, Cove. You were glad to return the kiss, pressed into him and wrapping your arms around his neck to keep him close. He might not yet have been able to put his feelings into words, but you could feel his joy and gratitude all the same. When you parted, Cove still wore that brilliant smile. Yes, brilliant smile. Your hand lifted up to his face to caress his cheek. Yeah, I did see that, Jayla. Yeah, congratulations to your cousin. Finally, Cove regained some of his composure. He opened his mouth to attempt speech once more. See? Are you really so confused why I want to do so much for you? When you go and... To finish the thought, he waved a hand at the beautiful field you had found just for him. His voice, which had been bright, dimmed to a soft murmur when he followed up on the question. Nobody else in the entire world would do this for me. August 19th for the shower? Yep. Pull it together, Cove. Bah, let him have his emotions. Nobody. And no one makes me feel the way you do. His words were as faint as the rustling of the poppy's petals in the wind. Some of the tears had escaped from his lashes down to his cheeks, the damp skin glittering in the sunlight. He reached out to hold his face once more and stroked them away. I feel the same about you. You meant every word. So, can we look at the flowers together? That's kinda the point. His voice was still soft, as though speaking too loudly might shatter the magic. I'd be happy to. That is a lovely field of flowers. He giggled in a tiny, giddy way at that.
Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Carefully, so as to disturb the natural peace as little as possible, you and Cove began to make your way through the field of flowers. Now that you'd reached the destination, there was nothing to hide. You could finally walk side by side once more, his hand in yours, eyes wide open to what was ahead. You really cherished taking the journey as partners. With the conclusion of Cove's big plan, and yours, you might have expected to feel a little wistful. It had been an exciting few days, but there was no need to yearn for what had gone. After all, you knew that the two of you would always find new ways to bring a smile to the other's face. It's what you both did, and you were looking forward to new surprises already. Yay! So yeah. All that's left is to end the summer, and then there's sort of an epilogue. Ever been to a wedding? I have never been to a wedding. I've never been to a wedding. That's one of the benefits of having of not having like my only family is across the fucking ocean. Which, so yeah, that's one of the benefits of having a small family and no friends. Don't have to go to weddings. Or funerals, for that matter. Don't have to go to any of those big functions. Family reunions, nothing. I don't have to go to damn thing. Woot woot. That was cute, except for the parts that got too... Yeah. Fair enough, Comic Brook. But I mean, like, our character, my character's 18 and... My character is 18 and horny, damn it. 18, in love, and horny. So yeah, next... So yeah, probably only 2 more weeks of this. Up to the game's left. Very little. Like, and then summer ended. So there's the end of this summer. And, like, there's sort of, like, being 23. But, like, being 23 is sort of like an ending. So it's basically just the ending and an epilogue. So yeah, it's the end of the game, and then there's an epilogue. To give you a hint, the epilogue is wedding DLC, just to give you a hint about what the epilogue is. End of an era? I know. But we'll start a new one. Gonna start with Ambition, a minuet in power. At least that's what I'm still thinking. That said... There's a game on my wish list that I am giving consideration. It's not one that I backed. That's not the right one. Keep answering my questions right as I ask them. I mean, so, like, the one I'm considering next is Ambition, a Minuet in Power, which is about, for that one, you play a woman of fashion in 18th century Paris, trying to survive the political turmoil. Date a cast of unforgettable characters. Amass the wealth and respect you deserve. Engage in gossip that can alter the course of history, or lead you to the guillotine. So yeah, it's one that just seems kind of fun. It's one that I backed on Kickstarter because it seemed kind of fun. There is one other game I am considering playing instead, though. Not one that I backed on Kickstarter. And it's one that only recently came out. One that only recently launched. As in, like, June. It launched June 8th. Harmony. The Fall of Reverie. It is a visual novel from Don't Nod. Don't Nod, of course, were the developers of Life is Strange, which is an amazing game. And Harmony seems genuinely interesting. You sort of... You play a character who has a gift of... who is clairvoyant. Which connects her to to Reverie, the realm of the aspirations of humanity. Glory, bliss, power, chaos, bond, and truth. Become a goddess who has the power to choose the aspiration that will ultimately rule over Reverie and restore the delicate balance between the deity's world and ours. The fate of humanity is at stake. To which destiny do you aspire? And I mean, obviously, you know, romance shit. Don't Nod is cool. They are. I mean, like I said, Life is Strange is amazing. And Harmony just seems really fascinating. Which one is shorter? I don't know. Good question. Harmony of the Fall of Live. Okay. So, looks like the main story is, averages it out around 9 hours, a little under 9 hours. 11 and a half hours with extras. Which I suppose actually isn't that long. Ambition, a minuet in power. Main story is, I guess, a little under 6 hours, and then with extras, closer to a little over 9. Sure, the first one. So neither of them are actually all that long. You know, even like a 12-hour game. Given, you know, double the length, given the fact that I'm streaming it, you know, having to talk during it. You know, that's still only 12 episodes. So even the longer one would probably only be like, you know, a couple months worth. Didn't help narrow it down at all. Yeah, so neither of them are actually particularly long. I might just, honestly, I very well may just flip a coin. I actually didn't, I thought Ambition would be longer. I may just flip a coin. Or I might do Ambition first. That game is older. That game came out back in 2021. So I might do ambition first. And then do harmony after, just because... honestly, because it's Don't Nod, I feel like harmony is a game that people may want to play themselves, right? Like, they are a pretty notable developer. So people may want to play that one. Ambition, it's just an indie game that was from Kickstarter. People may, odds are people aren't going to be playing that one. And if they did want to play it, it came out 2 years ago. Harmony only came out a month and a half ago. So there's the chance that people may... Yeah, so I think I'll do Ambition first. That way, if... Hey, Scrapecoat. That way, if anyone does want to play Harmony for themselves, they can. Anyways, 2.5 hours, so I'm going to get going. It's been 2.5 hours, and I did have McDonald's for supper, so I've got the poops. I got a poop now, so I'm going to get going. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Good night for now.